Hello, and welcome to episode 116 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm James.
And if you're on YouTube, you can see us
in Technicolor.
Yeah, we're always amazed by the fact you can see us. We're not used to this. We're not used to this kind of medium. So we are doing the Strixhaven kind of like set previews, set go over, cards we think are interesting and all that jazz.
The whole set was released on Friday. It's now Monday. And typically after the whole set's released, we'll go through the card file and pick out some cards that we want to talk about that might be important in, upcoming constructed environments and do an episode on them. So here we are. That's what we're doing.
So if you want to tweet at us what you think we missed, what's going to be the most broken card in the set that we didn't talk about, you can get at us at Casual Tripod.
Yep. You can also hit us up on Facebook at CasualTryHardMTG, or you can drop us an email, show@CasualTryHardMTG.com. Don't forget, if you guys are looking to pick up any singles, please use our TCG Player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Anything you purchase after following that link will get a small percentage of to help keep the show rolling. Very useful for preview season when there's new cards to pick up. Everybody likes ordering new cards. Also, if you want to support us a little bit more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Patrons get early access to our show notes. I usually post them the day before the show goes live. They also get access to our pre-show ramblings where we kind of catch up because we really don't get to see each other too much anymore. So all that stuff goes up on Patreon for our patrons. Also, I haven't had a chance to do it yet. I know I mentioned it last week. We are coming up for another round of patron givebacks. So if you're new to Patreon, please make sure that I get your physical mailing address so that I can include you in the next round of mailings. Hopefully I'll get around to that soon.
We'll get there.
Yep. Like Brian said, hopefully some of you are checking us out on our YouTube channel, Casual Tryhard MTG on YouTube. We will have the video version of this podcast up there, complete with our smiling faces, and whatever cards we're going to talk about we'll have pop up on the screen so you can see them. We're also lately have been putting a lot more content on our YouTube channel. We've been doing some box opening stuff up there. You've been doing some arena gameplay footage up there. Typically we do a little bit more of that when a new set comes out. So I'll have at least a set box and a collector box that I'll be doing box openings for. I'm probably also going to do a pre-release pack. I'll open it up, show you what all comes in one, walk you through building a sealed pool, and put that up on YouTube for everybody. This time around, the pre-release kits, they're going to be themed. So they're going to be themed towards whatever college you pick. So they're not all the same. You'll get 5 booster packs and I think they used to call them a seeded booster, right?
Yeah.
So you get 5 packs plus a seeded booster, and the seeded booster is going to help push your pool towards like whatever college you picked. So if there's one college that you guys want to hear or see me open a pool of more than the others, let me know. Otherwise, it's going to be Witherbloom.
Yes, it will be.
100%.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing that. And then also when a new set comes out, we typically get maybe a sealed video up there for Marina and definitely some draft videos up there. So you'll have that to look forward to as well.
Yeah, I'll do drafts until I'm sick of the format.
Yep.
So depending on how the format is and how much I'm winning, that varies how many videos you'll get.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird format because of the Mystical Archive.
It's going to be a weird format because of that. I feel like one of the mechanics just can't work in limited. So it's good.
Which one's that?
Magecraft.
What do you mean? Why can't it work?
So I guess we can save this for later, but
yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about it in a minute. So
yeah, we'll save it for later.
All right. So the last thing we got to talk about in our intro here is our Discord. A ton of cool people in there hanging out, talking about decks and show ideas and asking questions, whatever. If you're interested in Discord, make sure you hop on over there. There should be a link in the description. There's a link on all our social media. If you're having a hard time getting in, send us a message and we'll provide you a link to get you into Discord. But we usually hang out in there pretty often. I know I've got the app on my phone, so anytime somebody posts up, it yells at me and lets me know. So
Yeah.
that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, at least.
Yeah, I'm in there. Like, it's on my phone. I pop in sometimes,
Yeah.
but you are the czar of the Discord.
The Discord czar.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got a lovely slideshow here that James slaved away to make
Slaved away
today. So we're gonna go through the mechanics and some examples of the mechanics, and then we have some cards that we thought might be worth talking about.
Yep.
So first up, the most unique mechanic in the set is learn lesson.
Yeah, I don't know if unique's the right word, because it feels a lot like two other mechanics.
It does. It feels like companions.
It does.
And it also feels like adventures.
Yeah, it also kind of feels like wishes, which I guess isn't technically a mechanic, but
yeah,
it's something that we've had.
So basically the cards are paired together. You have cards that have the learn ability that when you cast them or they come into play, you can search your sideboard for a lesson card. And then you have the lessons cards, and they are, I think, sorceries and instants, or just sorceries.
I don't know if there's any instants or not. There might be.
Yeah, but spells that are specifically have like a special type that is lesson.
Yeah, so like this expanded anatomy on the screen here has a subtype of lesson.
Yeah, so you could cast First Day of Class, do whatever its effect is, and then learn, and then go get expanded anatomy.
Yep.
Or any other lesson card.
Yeah, so there's a couple things to talk about with learn. The first is that you are correct. When you learn, you do get to go get a lesson from, it says outside of the game on your card. What that means in constructed Magic is your sideboard.
Yes.
So you're allowed to go to your sideboard and get a lesson card from your sideboard and put it in your hand. I believe when they did the announcement for this mechanic, they said straight up, this will not work in Commander.
Yes, because you don't have sideboards.
Yeah, there's no sideboards. So it's not like they're trying to work around it like they did with Companion. They just said it's not going to work in Commander. So yeah, it doesn't work in Commander. Also, you don't have to learn a lesson. If you don't have lessons to get, if you've gotten them all already, if for some reason you decided to sideboard them into your deck and they're no longer in your sideboard, or if you don't have a sideboard, you don't have to go get a lesson to learn. You can, number one, elect to do nothing. So you don't have to do anything. You can just forget about the learn ability. Or you can rummage. So you can discard a card to draw a card.
Yes.
Okay.
So it does give it that flexibility. Like it's expanded anatomy here. There's a handful of these that are colorless.
I think most of the lessons are colorless, aren't they?
I don't know. The commons are.
Yeah.
I think the higher rarity ones aren't, but the commons definitely are. And that's to make them work in limited. Right. So if you get a learn card, you're pretty set that you're going to get a lesson. So I said this is kind of like Companions, where you have access to your sideboard in game one. And it's kind of like Adventures, where your learn cards are all 2 spells in 1 card. Right. Like the difference is, I think they learned a lesson from Adventures, right? Where when Adventures came out, we were like, well, if any of these effects are like close in terms of rate, and then the creature is close in terms of rate, they're playable. Right. If you think about Bone Crusher Giant, 2 mana for 2 damage is fine.
Yeah.
And then 3 mana for a 4/3 with more text is better than fine.
Right.
And Bryson Borrower, 1 in the blue for bounce to permanent is like, I think the rate for that card.
It is, yeah. Like a unsubstantiate
Yeah.
is 2 mana.
And then a 3 mana 3/1 flash flyer is the rate for that card.
Right.
So both halves of that are at rate.
Mhm.
So the card's really good.
Yep.
The most of the learn cards aren't at rate.
Yeah.
Or like, the effect is pretty minimal. Like first day of class here, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it and it gains haste until end of turn. Like for 1 in a red, like that's not a 2 mana ability.
Right.
Because if you think about it, it just makes it so all your if you want a hasty whatever, it's going to cost you 2 mana. So you're attacking 2 mana onto your next creature.
Yeah. And typically you're not going to get more than 1 creature out of this either.
Yeah. I mean, unless like you're bringing back a bunch of Narcomoebas and
That's
silliness,
true.
right?
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, like it, but again, like you're asking a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And then the lesson cards are, I think all of them are at least 1 mana more than you would have paid for that ability.
Especially the colorless ones.
Yeah, the colorless ones are 1 or like 2 mana above that cost, which I think is good. Like the last thing you need is one of them is preordain. Basically, it's scry 2, draw 1.
Yeah,
but it's colorless and it's 3 mana. Right. Like the last thing you want is like Tron.
Colorless preordain.
Yeah, it's Tron playing preordain.
Yeah.
Right. So they were like, we have to price this so the effect is minimal but good, and that it's just not going to become a staple in like every deck in older formats.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a constructed mechanic because you're like most of them, I don't want to say all of them, but most of them, the lesson and the learn card are too expensive or not powerful enough.
Both halves of it, I don't think quite cut the mustard, so to say.
Even the higher rarity ones are come up a little short.
Yeah. Like there's only 1 in our list of cards we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. And it's a sideboard card.
Right.
So limited mechanic for sure. I think there's like a handful of creatures that have the learn ability that when they come into play or die, you get to learn. And they're not embarrassing, but they're not constructed power level creatures.
Yeah.
And
especially not in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah. And the lessons, almost all of them are not quite good enough.
Yeah. At least a mana too expensive, if not a couple mana too expensive.
Yeah, and some of them, like if the mana cost was close to like, destroy a creature, planeswalker, as an additional cost, sacrifice a creature. Or like exile a thing, but give them a 3/2.
Yeah.
And it's like, 3/2 is like all of I think it's a 3/2 flyer. It's like that's all of a card. Yeah. Like give them a better wind drake. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good. Give them a 4 mana common flyer. No.
Here, have a snare thopter.
Yeah, have a snare thopter that will attack me next turn. So it basically has haste. No, thank you. So that's learn and lesson.
Yep. Next up, we have Magecraft. This one is really straightforward. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, do whatever the card says.
Yeah. So the beginning part of all of them is the same.
Yep.
The effect changes card to card.
Yep.
So the reason I worry about this as like a limited mechanic is you have to have a lot of creatures in your deck, right? Because it's limited. But then it's also like, hey, man, I need you to have like, 8 to 10 spells in your deck as well.
Yeah.
And like prowess kind of worked. But like, it was usually you'd get like a handful of triggers in a game. You might get like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right. And some of these Magecraft cards, the effect isn't like, man, I'm really glad I got this one time.
Yeah.
right? Like, there's it's a 2-drop, it's a 2-mana 2/2, and its upside is like, hey, if you cast a spell, you're gonna drain for 1. And it's like, okay, like I don't know if that's like worth a gold 2-drop.
Yeah.
So I just worry that like finding the right balance of like spells and creatures.
Yeah. There's a couple notes that I have to that effect though. There are a couple like pseudo storm cards in this set
Yeah.
where you copy it for every spell you've cast this turn.
Mhm.
That can really bump up the Magecraft decks.
Yeah.
And also, I know, like, I'm thinking back into my head to the last few limited environments that we've played through. I know Core 21 and Zendikar, I think Kaldheim too. Like, my creature counts have been just a little bit lower than they used to be.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be cutting down, like, to have 18 creatures, 17, 18 creatures.
Yeah.
And the last few sets, I found myself, like, only being able to get to like 15 or 16 creatures. So if that's kind of the direction that these limited environments are going anyway, I don't really know that you're going to have a problem getting like 8, 9, 10, instants or
Yeah.
sorceries.
Yeah, but like a lot of them aren't super powerful effects.
Right. Yeah.
So like if you're getting like one, like you're getting one trigger
Mm-hmm.
or something, like is that worth it?
Yeah.
So
We'll
I
see.
don't know. We'll see. Like I said, prowess kind of worked, but it was more of a like you usually got like it was like an incidental thing.
Yeah. I mean, some of these are a lot bigger than just prowess, though.
Yeah,
Like
some of them
some
are.
of the triggers.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Next up, we have Ward.
yeah.
So
This
good.
this is it's going to be a new evergreen keyword, which means it's not tied to this set or this plane. It's something that they can use going forward whenever they feel like they need to. They said that this isn't going to replace hexproof, but it's going to be used like in the same places as hexproof. If like hexproof on a card would be too punishing, they can put ward on it instead. And basically it's this, well, not really, it's different than hexproof, but so after the keyword ward, there'll be a cost. And whenever an opponent would target whatever permanent has ward, I think all the ones in this sets are creatures, but I could definitely see this being on like an artifact or something also.
Yeah.
Whenever that permanent becomes the target of a spell or ability, it's countered unless the opponent pays the ward cost. So this waterfall aerialist has ward 2. If you want to target this thing with a spell or ability and you don't control it, you're going to have to pay an extra 2 mana or it will be countered.
Yeah. So I think the other ward cost in the set is like 3 life.
Mhm.
Is the one that I think that ward for a cost early on, like a mana cost,
Mhm.
is way better than like ward for a life.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because like, if you play your waterfall aerialist on turn 4,
Mhm.
right, there's a pretty good chance that it stays around for a couple more turns or
Right.
eats most of your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
Right. But if it was ward was like 3 life, they're just like, I'll just kill it and
Yeah.
pay the 3 life, because if I don't kill it, I take 3.
Yeah.
Right. So like I think the ones that have a life cost are less taxing.
Mhm.
Right. Because I mean,
Well,
if
they're
you
going to be less taxing early in the game.
yeah, later in the game, I guess, like, but I think you have to be a very specific kind of deck, right? Like if
Mhm.
you're an aggressive deck that's getting your opponent's life total low,
Yeah.
then that 3 life matters.
Mhm.
But if you're like, a slower deck, right, having a 3 life ward cost is just like, whatever, I'll just pay the 3 life.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think about like, dismember in like
Mhm.
modern, right? How often have people just been like, I'll pay 1 and 4 life to kill your thing?
Almost every time.
Almost every time.
Yep.
Right. And so, I'll pay 1 for my shock and 3 life to kill your thing,
Mhm.
is probably absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So I think the mana cost ones are better, but early in the game, and then later in the game, they get a lot worse. Like, you've got like 10 lands on the battlefield, and have to pay an extra 2 is not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
I don't know that ward is going to matter a whole lot for constructed play.
Probably not.
So
I think I said in the pre-show, like, it feels like they took a mechanic that we like 100% already had,
right,
and they were just like, let's give it a name.
Yeah, because like this was the same text on Bone Crusher Giant.
Yeah, if you target it, it deals 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
what
like,
was that
that's
dragon from Dragons? Thunder something.
Oh, Thunderbreak Regent.
Yeah, Thunderbreak Regent.
If you target it,
ward.
If you target it, it deals you 3 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's effectively this is really the Frost Titan text.
Yeah.
Right, where Frost Titan is 1.
Yeah.
But right, it's the same text as Frost Titan. So right, it feels like it's like, oh, we've had this mechanic for years, and now we've just given it a name.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being like knockoff text or one-off text on the cards that have it.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, it's end of 2020, beginning of 2021. So we just have to have double face cards
again
for reasons.
Yeah, all of you should know how these work by now. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on them. The one thing that I will say is I think this was the last set where they specifically said there's MDFCs in this set.
Okay.
Which means I don't think we're going to have them for Forgotten Realms. And I really doubt we're going to have them for Innistrad. Because I'm assuming we're going to have transforming cards in Innistrad.
Yeah, we'll have double face cards, but they won't be like this.
Yeah,
they'll be the werewolf
way
stuff.
Too confusing to have like double face cards that transform and double face cards that you can pick which side you want.
Yeah, it's too hard.
Yeah.
So they have, I guess, a cycle of the deans. So like we have up right now where there are 2 creatures that their front and back may or may not have anything to do with each other. So Plarg, Dean of Chaos, and Augusta, Dean of Order.
Yeah.
They are 2 wholly unrelated cards.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that like, ooh, I'm Chaos and I'm Order. And like the black green one, like they're kind of maybe sort of related, but not really.
Yeah.
And then they have what are they? Oh gosh. They have what I had called a while back, which is, hey, the person and then the spell they cast.
Yeah.
Or a spell about them on the back of the card. So those seem like they have a little bit more to do with each other.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are just like, oh, I can like make a little play on words and say these things are related. It feels like they were like, hey, we have 5 schools and we have 10 deans. And then the card creative was like, we want all 10 of these deans in the set. And then the card people were like, yo, we only have this many cards. We don't have room. And it's like, what if we just slap them on the front and back of the same card?
Oh yeah, so much real estate on the back of that card.
Yeah, who even cares about the classic pen mark on the back of that card? Just get rid of it. Like, the back of cards hasn't served us for 25 years. We don't need that real estate. Yeah. So it feels like they're just kind of doing the MDFCs to do them.
Yeah.
And I will be happy if this is the last we see of them for a while.
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure that they didn't announce that they were going to be in any more sets, and I don't see how they can be in Innistrad. So
yeah,
this will probably be the last time we see him for a little while.
We get a break.
Yep.
Like initially, there was like, oh, that's a really neat idea.
Yeah.
And then it was like, because they were the
And then they started
lands.
waterboarding us with them.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you thought that was cool? How about more? No, no more. All right. So now for some cards that we thought were interesting or might see play.
Or just ones that like I thought we could talk about. Some of them are definitely better than others. Some of them are bad. But I thought we'd just talk about them and see how far we get.
Yep. All right. So we have Clever Lumamancer.
Yeah, that's a tough one to say, right?
Yeah, Lumamancer.
No, Lumamancer.
Lumamancer. Oh my god. All right. And this is a 1 mana, just a white mana for an 0/1.
Mm-hmm.
And it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn.
Yep. So it's like super prowess?
It is super prowess. This is Tendrils of Agony on legs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, in Magical Christmas Land, you play this on turn 1 and you storm off on turn 2 and you win the game.
Metamorphose.
Yes. Then like mutagenic growth, Teamer Battle Rage. Thanks for playing.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, mutagenic growth, Teamer Battle Rage.
Does it.
Yep. It breaks one of the rules of the podcast, which it makes you play planes, and we don't support that kind of strategy.
Well, you don't have to play basic planes.
You don't have to play basic. Yeah, I guess like I support Sacred Foundries.
Yeah,
but not basic planes. I don't know. It seems like this is a dream someone is going to try to live.
I mean, I think it's pretty good. Like whatever white weenie deck you're going to play is probably going to play some amount of like God's Willing effects, Karametra's Blessing, whatever. And this card just gets really good with them.
Yeah, does it have the Akum Hellhound problem?
Oh, maybe.
Where like
eventually you're just going to run out of things to pump it, and then it's just a 0/1 that does nothing.
Yeah, or you draw it like late in the game and it just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, maybe.
Like if your deck is this and then a bunch of like Raise the Alarms and like token generators where your other creatures are spells.
Yeah,
maybe that works. So you're more likely to just keep drawing spells.
Yeah, maybe. You're probably also going to play this in the same deck as was it Luminarch, whatever, the guy that puts +1/+1 counters on stuff every turn.
Luminarch Aspirant.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and that could just make it a relevant body.
Yeah.
It's
not that
interesting.
It's exactly where you want to be, but I think super prowess is going to kill people out of nowhere, though.
Yeah, I agree. And now I want to specify, we keep comparing this to prowess. Prowess was a non-creature spell.
Correct.
This is only instants and sorcery, so there is a bit of a difference.
Yeah, it doesn't trigger off enchantments or artifacts or planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next up, Devastating Mastery. 2 white. That's enough whites. And for destroy all non-land permanents.
Right.
Now, there's a whole wall of text here that we have to go over.
Yeah.
So you may pay 2 white rather than paying the spell's mana cost. If you do, an opponent chooses 2 non-land permanents they control and returns them to their hand or to their owner's hand. So like you can get a planar cleansing on the cheap, but you don't get to cleanse the whole plane.
Well, like fail case scenario is just planar cleansing though, because it's 6 mana value for destroy all non-land permanents.
It is.
Now it's a little bit harder to cast because it's 4 white instead of 3 white. So you're probably never going to cast this outside of like a mono white deck.
Yeah.
But that other mode is kind of interesting. It's kind of worse Wrath of God because they get to save 2 things, but it's also a pretty killer tempo swing. Like they're going to pick probably their best things, which are typically going to be things that they sunk more mana into.
Yeah.
So maybe they're not going to be able to, run them both out the next turn. So like, hopefully you're going to pick up some tempo on the play.
Yeah.
And it's also relevant that it hits everything and not just creatures like Wrath of God.
Yeah, and I guess like this does have just like the like, if you don't get anything, like 4 mana double bounce
Mhm.
isn't the end of the world. It's not where you
Especially
want to
in white.
be. Yeah, it's not where you want to be, but
yeah.
yeah, so there's like a whole cycle of these cards that have a mana value of one thing and then let you pay a different cost to have some sort of like downside.
Yeah, there's at least one more on the list.
Yeah. But so these are interesting because you have a little bit more in terms of choice. Or do I want to wait till I get to the full cost? Or do I want to just kind of like do it with whatever the downside is?
Yeah. Are there any matchups like off the top of your head where you can think of this being useful? I mean, it's a Wrath that's not just dead against a control matchup, right?
Yeah, because it gets like their planeswalkers and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think anything that's like, if you're like it's like a ramp, like an artifact ramp deck, where they ramp out their Ugin, and you're just like, okay, 4 mana. What are you putting back? And it's like, well, you're not gonna be able to recast your Ugin because I'm gonna blow up all your rocks,
right?
And you don't want to pick up your rocks because
then you don't have anything to do with them.
They don't have any gas. So like a creature or like artifact ramp deck where they've played a lot to the board to get out their big thing, I think it would be reasonable. But that's the only thing I can think of where where both modes are punishing.
Right.
Where you put them in a bad spot where they're not just like, oh cool, I'll pick up these two things and then replay them. Like, you don't want to, if your opponent goes like 1, 2, 3, and then you cast this and they just pick up their 3 and their 2 and then or their 3 and their 1, and the next turn they're just like, here's my 3 and my 1.
Yeah.
Like that's not what you want. That's not where you want to be.
Yeah, you didn't really gain a whole lot there.
Yeah, you traded like 1 for 1 for their 2-drop, and it's just like, so no, it's a weird card.
It is a weird card.
All right, next up we have Paula Vitor Domino Rosa.
Yeah, PV.
Yeah.
This is a elite spellbinder. It's 2 and a white for a 3/1 human cleric with flying. So when elite spellbinder enters the battlefield, look at target opponent's hand. You may exile a non-land card from it for as long as that card remains exiled. Its owner may play it. The spell cast this way costs 2 more to cast.
So it's a 3/1 flyer for 3.
It is a 3/1 flyer.
You look at the art, it continues the long tradition of white cards that don't look they're flying.
Yeah, he's kind of like jumping.
Yeah, he's kind of jumping, but whatever.
Yep.
So it's like they're trying to give white a different type of disruption that still feels white.
Yeah, like they've said lately that they're trying to expand white's color pie some, and this feels like a way to give white discard
to some degree. Yeah.
And I think basically white can do whatever it wants as long as it's attacks, right?
It's what it feels like they're going to try to do.
Yeah.
Is they're just going to make it so you have to pay a little bit more.
Yeah. I think that discard probably is something that white can do like this. There's really not too many cards outside of black that get any access to discard. Whereas normally, like a mechanic, a color will be like second or third in a specific mechanic.
Yeah.
There's really nothing that's second or third in discard. I could only come up with a couple off the top of my head that were kind of like discard adjacent. And one of them is kind of white, like Gerard's Verdict is a black, white, gold card that, I mean, it's an old card, but it's a discard spell. And then Thought Not Seer is kind of like discard adjacent, and it was colorless. And then Mistbind Click or Vendilion Click is also kind of discard, but blue.
There's also a card in this set. Humiliate.
Oh yeah.
There's black, white, discard a card, or look at opponent's hand, they discard a card, and you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control.
Yep.
So, I mean, still black,
Right.
but yeah, no, I think it's an aggressively enough costed body,
Mhm.
and the effect is strong enough. And it's one of those things that, like, if you're a white weenie deck and you're trying to make sure you don't get wrathed on turn 4,
Conveniently, this comes down the turn before.
comes on the turn before, and it's also like a clock.
Right.
Right. If you go like 1 mana, 2/1, 2 mana, 2/2,
Mhm.
right? And then you're like, 3/1 flyer that eats the wrath, like you're getting in for a reasonable amount of damage.
Right.
Right. You could probably kill them before they could cast their wrath.
Hopefully.
And you're getting like information that you
Mhm.
normally don't have as like a white deck.
Yeah.
Right. You don't get to just know what your opponent's hand is in white.
Right. What do you think about this card, like kind of bringing back an archetype in Modern also?
Like D&T?
Yeah, because we have like Wasteland Strangler eats an exiled card, right?
Yeah, like it pairs with Wasteland Strangler.
Yeah.
I think like the modern archetype that I would guess it would fit into would be the Soul Herder decks.
The
Where
blink, blink,
yeah,
blink. Yeah.
yeah, you're leaning on like Ephemerate and Soul Herder to just like start exiling all the cards in their hand and like putting attacks on them.
Yeah.
So no, it's interesting. And it is good to see that they're trying to push white to do stuff other than lose.
Mhm. Make
Again,
people
like
play planes.
yeah, like it's one of those things that like white decks a lot of times constructed are the like how good are the 1 mana 2/1s in white?
Yeah.
Oh, they're not good. I guess I can't play white decks. Or how good is the sweeper removal? I guess I'm going to play a control deck and use this wrath.
Right.
But like when's the like 3 and 4 mana white creatures don't get played very often.
Hardly ever.
Right. And right, I think the last time like a non like white weenie deck was really good, like was that like Avacyn, like flashing an Avacyn and like
Yeah, maybe.
blanking your wrath, because like there was like blue white well no sorry there was blue gosh no great color try again there was white like the white weenie deck that like LSC made it to the finals with.
Mm-hmm.
And like that deck in some form was around for a while.
Yeah.
And I guess the like white thing to do now is like the life gain angel deck in historic.
Mm-hmm.
And some like life gain synergies. For the most part, like white doesn't get played that much, so this could give them a way to interact in an axis that they haven't before.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you pointed this out in the pre-show, the card never leaves exile until it's cast. So even if you kill the spellbinder, it's the card still keeps the tax.
Mm-hmm.
The tax isn't on spellbinder, it gets put on the card that's in exile.
So like with Drannith Magistrate, they just don't ever get to cast the card, right?
Yes, that card cannot be cast. They're done.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and there's another,
especially if you keep blinking it.
Yeah, you're just like Drannith Magistrate, blink my thing, eat your card.
Yeah. So how many like instant speed blinks do we have? Can we blink during their draw step?
I don't know how many are currently like in standard.
Yeah.
Like you'd mentioned Charming Prince, like Magistrate into Spellbinder into like Charming Prince, like then you're just like all in on the like please don't target my Magistrate.
Right, but I mean, like I said, if you're blinking during their draw phase, like
yeah, I don't know if there's not like an Eldrazi Displacer type effect in standard where like just you're like, hey, 3 mana, eat your draw step.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's interesting, and it's good to see that white's getting to do some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So next up,
more white cards.
Lightscribe, yeah. So Magecraft this is 1 in the white for a 2/2. Magecraft, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn.
Yep. So it's like prowess the whole team.
Prowess the whole team. I think there was like a 3-mana uncommon that did something very similar in Dragons of Tarkir way back in the day. It's a card that's like probably for like a tokeny style deck, right? Where you need this, and then you need to have a bunch of instants and sorceries,
like timely reinforcements, raise the alarm.
Yeah, or you like venture into red for like forbidden friendship, like those kind of things, so you can like make sure that you have a bunch of creatures, but all your creatures are coming on instants and sorceries.
Yeah.
Or Satyr's Cunning.
Goblin Wizardry.
Oh yeah, Goblin Wizardry. Because they
actually
prowess
have
too.
prowess.
They get real big.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. It's one of those cards that like it might not be good enough for constructed.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not, but it's kind of a unique. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something that we see just like, hey, make everything big.
Yeah.
You know, and what you really want is you want to like, on turn, 5 or whatever, have like 4 or 5 creatures and just like attack and just like, play 3 or 4 instants and kill them.
Yeah. Opt.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, here you go. I guess my stuff is real big now.
Real big.
All right, now into the blue cards. We have Divide by 0.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird one. It's a 2 and a blue for an instant. Return target spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand, and learn. And like the reason I thought this card might be kind of cool is, like we said when we were going over the set mechanics, if there's enough learn cards that are, or enough lesson cards that are worth playing, this is kind of a better like Blink of an Eye or Into the Royal.
Yeah.
Because both of those, for the most part, ended up being 4 mana, bounce a thing, draw a card. Yeah. Like you didn't ever want to cast either of those not kicked. And this guy is 1 mana less. You have to go get a lesson, but like as long as there's lessons that you want to learn, not only are you getting what you want instead of just a random card off the top, but you're also saving a mana compared to what traditionally is the going rate.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way of thinking of it. I was thinking of it more as like unsubstantiate, and it's kind of a mana higher for than unsubstantiate.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's a better way to look at it. Is it's a mana less than Blink of an Eye.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if you're saving a mana on your Blink of an Eye, it doesn't like you can then spend that mana later for the lesson that you got.
Right.
If your lesson is just so, even if it's something like, destroy an artifact or enchantment, like if you need to destroy an artifact and enchantment, the fact that you get to go get that is way better than just being like cold to whatever artifact or enchantment. So I think that is like this is actually might be on the edge of playable.
Yeah, it's probably the closest one that I've seen.
Yeah, because you're not really paying a premium if you're thinking about it as Blink of an Eye.
Yeah, no, you're getting a discount.
Yeah,
and like I said when we were talking about the mechanics, is if you've already gotten all your lessons or you don't have one that fits the situation, like fail case scenario is you get to rummage.
Yeah, if you like ditch a land, right, and then you get anything, like that can be a real boon for you. Yeah. So no, I think this one's good.
Yep.
I had not thought of it that way.
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. We got cards.
All right. So this next one's mine, which is multiple choice. This is one you need a video for.
Yeah.
So it's blue and X.
A lot of text on this card.
Yes. And if X is 1, scry 1, then draw a card. So 2 mana, scry 1, draw a card. So 2 mana, sorcerer speed, opt. If it's X is 2, so 3 mana total, You choose a player and they return a creature they control to their hand. If X is 3, you make a 4/4 blue and red elemental token. So 4 mana total. So a 4 mana 4/4. And then if X is 5, you do all of those things. So I don't know if this is good enough, but I feel like this card is just a 5 mana 4/4 that draws you a card and then bounces a creature.
Mhm. Which
it's fine. Probably not world ending.
Yeah.
But also like just feels like R&D has gone like too far.
Yeah, it's way more complicated than it needed to be.
Yeah, I don't know how, like, I don't know if you can write it so it's clear.
Yeah.
Or like if it just doesn't need to exist.
Yeah.
But it just seems like science has gone too far. Like, can we not?
When I looked at, like, I don't know if the card's good or not. The way I read the card is it's not worth casting unless X is 4.
No, I kind of agree. Like,
and at that point, you're only 1 mana away from Sublime Epiphany, and that's at instant speed, and like arguably a better card.
Yeah.
So
yeah, probably. So, but it's kind of like the less elegant Sublime Epiphany.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a weird card.
Yeah. Next up is Solve the Equation.
Yeah, this is kind of unique, right?
Kinda, yeah. So it's the first one of this effect. Like at this mana cost. So it's 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Search your library for an instant or sorcery, reveal it, and put it in your hand and shuffle. So it is just the idyllic tutor for instants and sorceries. It's
at uncommon.
At uncommon as opposed to rare. I thought of it as like Merchant Scroll.
That's close to, yeah.
Merchant Scroll is 1 in the blue and only gets blue instants.
Right.
So this is a little more flexible, but 1 more mana.
Yeah. There's also like Mystical Tutor.
Yeah. Which is banned in everything.
Yeah, just a blue mana to go get an instant or sorcery, put it on top of your deck.
Yeah. So it's.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on like what's worth going to get for 3 mana.
Yeah. And like I was thinking it's more like it's probably not like a 4 of in a deck.
But it's your 5th copy of every instant or sorcery in your deck.
Yeah. Like if you're like a spell combo deck, right? And you need A spell and B spell.
Right.
You could play 4 of A and B and then like 2 solve the equations.
Yeah.
And now you have 6. So of each. So hopefully you draw them. And you're like, I'm willing to spend 3 mana on turn 3 because I know if I get to untap on turn 4, I'll just win.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I'm willing to like take this turn off to win the next turn. So like, I think spell tutors are more dangerous than like enchantment tutors.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Like, no one's like, oh man, enlightened tutor should be banned. But, mystical tutor, we can't have.
At all.
Yeah. Like, no, you can't do this.
I mean, it gets really dangerous when you can start like netting mana.
Yeah.
So things like Goblin Electromancer or Birgi or Runaway Steamkin, like when you start creating mana by casting your spells, this turns into not a downside, and it just goes to, either get another storm piece or get whatever your win condition is or protection or whatever.
Yeah. Or like Baral also, same thing.
Yeah, Baral, same thing. Yep.
Or there's some planeswalkers.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about them.
Yeah. So next up is Test of Talents. And it's kind of a negate.
Kind of.
It's limited because negate is non-creature. And this is just instant and sorcery. But so 1 in the blue instant, counter target instant or sorcery. And then you get to surgically extract that spell from their deck.
Right.
You just get to remove all the copies from their library, their hand, their graveyard. And if you take one out of their hand, they get to draw a card to replace it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way that these cards are templated now, so there's less feel bads.
Yeah. So, in current standard, Sultai Yorion, they cast the Sultai Ultimatum, and you're like, haha.
Won't be doing that again.
Mana. Yeah, counter that for 2 mana, and then take them all out of the deck.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, like, I could see it being like a sideboard card in small numbers, where maybe if you're like, I'm going to play 4 negates, maybe you play like 3 negates in one of these, or you do like a 2-2 split.
Yeah.
Right. If the negates are in your sideboard to kind of be, dispels.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh, well, I would rather have Test of Talents because I'm only worried about, instants and sorceries.
Yeah. Nexus of Fate.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Counter your Nexus. Get them all.
That's right.
How do
you be doing that now? Again?
How do you win now, good sir?
Yep. Or Alrund's Epiphany.
Ugh.
Yep.
Gosh.
Yoink.
Yeah. So I think this probably has a home somewhere.
No, I dig it. It's a good card.
And looking at the art is pretty cool.
It is. It's also like all upside. Like you said, this is most of negate and also has a surgical staple to it.
Yeah. So it's really just kind of a question of like, what is your negate for?
Yeah.
If your negate's like, I need this for planeswalkers because I'm soft to planeswalkers, this doesn't do the job.
Right.
But if you're like, I bring in my negates mostly to counter instants and sorceries in this deck.
Yeah.
Ta-da, you've got like better negate.
Yeah. My negates are to protect my dudes then.
Yeah, then this is better.
Right.
Right. Like counter your terminate, take them all. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Collected Company.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Yep.
Now you're gonna cast all your creatures like a sucker.
That's right. Good luck.
Good luck tapping 3 lands and playing a 3 mana creature. All right. So here's another mastery. What's this one do?
This is Baleful Mastery, 3 and a black for an instant. Exile a creature or planeswalker. So it's 4 mana instant, exile a creature or planeswalker. Or you can pay 1 and a black instead of 3 and a black. And if you pay 1 and a black, your opponent draws a card.
Yeah.
So it's a 2 mana exile creature or planeswalker, your opponent draws a card, or it's 4 mana instant exile a creature or planeswalker. Like 4 mana has kind of been the de facto cost for this lately. We have Vraska's Contempt, E2 Extinction. To a lesser extent, we had what's his name? The adventure guy.
Murderous Rider?
Murderous Rider, that's the one. Yeah, he was 3 mana, but also came with a downside and kind of an upside. So I don't really know what to think of this. Like 4 mana, I don't think by itself is quite good enough to, see play as premium removal in a black deck. 2 mana definitely would be, but like you don't want your opponent drawing cards either.
Yeah. Again, it's having the flexibility.
Yeah.
Right. I know these are all worded like fancy, but they're all just split cards, right? It's like 3 and a black, exile a creature, planeswalker. Then the other half the card is 1 and a black.
Yeah. Do
that, they draw a card.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is a split card makes it just better.
Yeah. Well, right? Like you said earlier, also, it's like backwards kicker.
Yeah. So, it's like one, if the mana value was 1 and a black and it was exile a creature, your opponent draws a card, and then kicker 1 and a black, just exile a creature.
Right.
Right. Like you can think of the card like that and you'd be like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like, I can get rid of the downside, and it's kind of the same thing. So like, again, like, I think if your opponent, like, I don't know, plays a red and 6, you're like, cool, 1 in the black. Sure, you can draw a card. I don't want to have to deal with like this red and 6.
Right. That card's going to kill me. It needs to go now.
Or even, hey, I'm not really happy spending 2 mana getting rid of your Edgewall Innkeeper.
Right.
but it's way better than staring at the 4 mana card in your hand while they draw 3 cards off their Edgewalling Keeper.
Right.
So you're like, well, this feels bad, but not as bad as you drawing 3 cards before I decide to cast this for 4.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting. Like we had Vraska's Contempt at common last set.
Yeah.
We took
That's
the
crazy, right?
You gain 2 life off of it,
Yeah.
and it was like a common.
Yeah. This card was $20 when it was in standard.
Yeah, and like I don't know, 85% of that card was a common.
Right.
That no one even thought about playing in constructed.
Right. Yeah.
So like 4 mana is too much.
Yeah.
And 2 mana is not enough.
Yep.
Right? Like it feels like the sweet spot is a Hero's Downfall.
You mean where we started?
Where we started, Hero's Downfall. Yeah. And they're like, oh, that's too good. And it's like, have you seen what you've printed? It is not too good.
It's not too good.
It is not too good. All right. This is mine. So the fact that this has 3 different things that are semi-relevant.
Yeah, some of them more relevant than others.
Yeah. So it's this Callous Blood Mage. So 2 and a black for a 2/1.
Yep.
When it enters for a Vampire Warlock, if you're into vampires, or Warlock Tribal, I don't know.
Sure.
It enters and you can choose one. The first one is create a 1/1 green and black pest token that has when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Mm-hmm. So it can just be like a 3 mana, effectively 3/2.
Yep.
Which, remember when that card was in? Oh, what was it? Was it Cons? Like Sandstep Outcast. It was like I think 2 and a white, and it was a 2/1 and it entered with a +1/+1 counter. Yeah. Or you made a 1/1 spirit.
Oh, it's just the same card.
Yeah. And it's like you always made the spirit.
Yeah.
Like it only had 1 mode.
Right.
But like you were like, oh man, this card is so great. And like they just print that card all the time now. That's just like a stock card.
Power creep.
Yeah. Next up, you could, if it enters the battlefield, you could draw a card and you could lose a life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Phyrexian Rager.
Yep.
Which, was a constructed playable card, I don't know, in 1997 or something, or like 2001.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's Bojuka Bog.
It is Bojuka Bog.
Exile target player's graveyard.
Yeah, that's probably the most relevant mode.
Absolutely.
Like, I would look at the other 2 as fail cases.
Yeah, like, just getting the card back.
Yeah.
So my thought was you're a green-black company deck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have your Graveyard Hate already in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
Or your Chord of Calling deck. And you just have one of these to go chord for to exile their graveyard.
Yeah, kind of like the same way we were talking about what was that knight from Ravnica Allegiance?
Night of Autumn?
Yeah, Night of Autumn. It just kind of serves, it's like pre-sideboarding kind of.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, like this is in here because it lets me exile it lets me blow up an artifact or an enchantment, but
yeah.
Sometimes it's in here because I need the 4 life because I'm playing against burn.
Right.
And sometimes it's here because the 4/3 is good.
Right.
I think the modes are a little less good
definitely.
The Night of Autumn, but it's only 1 color.
Yeah. No, this is a 2/1 that exiles a graveyard and sometimes isn't embarrassing.
Sometimes isn't embarrassing. Yeah, I mean, like it's not the worst thing if you like draw it and you're like, well, this wasn't great, but it's gonna replace itself because like the graveyard doesn't matter.
Yeah, cycle it and leave behind a 2/1.
Yeah. Or mana playing against burn. I guess I'll play this like stupid pest token and get 2 bodies to block and I'll gain a life. Like, okay, that's not great, but it's fine.
It's a thing.
Yeah. But the fact that you can just go chord for it or hit it with Collected Company, I think it will see play.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just going to like give you that flexibility.
Yep. This guy's all you also.
Oh, okay. This is Gritting Ignis.
Mm-hmm.
This is a reprint
It is.
from Time Spiral Block, I
Mm-hmm.
do believe. So this is 2 and a red for a 2/2. So far, constructed all-star.
It's an elemental, so it triggers Risen Reef.
It does. It does. You can pay a red. You can return Grinning Ignis to its owner's hand. If you do, you add Wingding, Wingding, red. So you add 2 and a red. So you add its casting cost.
Right.
And you can only activate this as a sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we storm it off, folks.
Right.
So it's 1 mana for a storm count.
Mm-hmm.
If you have Burgie in play, it just stone goes infinite.
Right. It's just all of the storm count.
Yes. Basically, you can say, I'm going to do this indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
And each time you do it, it's 0 mana. Yep. And then the last time you pick it up and you're like, you have 3 mana. And then you're like, grape shot you.
Right.
It
also makes use of that. I mean, it's different colors, but the Magecraft card that drains.
Oh, is there one that's just like how many spells you cast? I thought they were all instants and sorceries.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
So
I forgot this was a creature.
Yep.
If you're blocking with it, you're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, get in there, Gritting Ignis, like, no, that's not what he's here for. He's here for free storm count. So yeah, like this is just a way to, I think in historic, like enable the like mono red storm deck, where you're like, hey, I'm playing Runaway Steamkin, Burgie, Gritting Ignis, and then a bunch of garbage and a grape shot.
Right.
So yeah, I don't see it doing anything in standard, but it is a card that now exists in historic and in Pioneer. It could do some things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we also have this next guy that kind of fills a similar role.
Hey, what does this guy do?
This is a Storm Kiln Artist. It's 3 and a red for a 2/2 dwarf. And he gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control, and has Magecraft. When you cast or copy an instant or a sorcery spell, make a treasure.
I did not know this guy existed.
Yeah. So he kind of does the same thing as Burgie or Runaway Steamkin, just in a little bit different way. He makes treasures. And also he kind of plays well with Magda.
Yes.
Not only because he's a dwarf, but he makes treasures that Magda can then turn into artifacts and / or dragons.
And I guess like when Magda attacks, she makes him bigger. Because she makes a treasure. Well, I guess 2.
Yeah.
Because he makes 1 as well.
Yep.
Yeah, no, this is, again, I think they're trying to enable some sort of like Stormy deck with all the enablers being creatures.
Right.
So that they are fragile.
It's interactable.
Yes. That you just don't get clowned on the stack.
So I was thinking about this for a different card in the list here, but I'm going to bring it up now. Do you think that there's a reason they gave us an MDFC that has fling on one side?
You just make this guy huge and then fling him?
Maybe. Throw it.
Yeah. There's a lot of treasures, though.
It is a lot of treasures.
And if you have 18 treasures,
you're probably winning anyway.
You can kill him some other way.
Yeah.
You can probably get him. So, side note, the Burgie art, the whatever it is, the alternate frame, whatever it was called, really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it does look really good.
So yeah, but we definitely have now 3 creatures that want you to just cast a bunch of spells and like pay you for them.
Yep, get going.
Yeah.
And like you said, we also have Baral and Goblin Electromancer to make things cheaper.
All right. So this is another one of mine.
Yep.
This is a Containment Breach. This is a lesson.
Yep.
It's 2 and a green for a sorcery. Destroy target artifact or enchantment.
If its mana value is 2 or less, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token that has, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. So I was looking at this as, again, if you are going to have a handful of like learn cards, this is a lesson that if you're in green, that just makes sense to have in your sideboard.
Yeah, I think that's how you need to set your lessons up too. Not that all of them are playable, but I think they need to be almost toolboxy, and that's what like will make them worth playing.
And like, if you were playing, if there's a learn card that you like, and you're already going to play 2 or 3 pieces of artifact or enchantment removal, you just make one of them Containment Breach.
Right.
Because it's not awful if you draw it and have to cast it for 3, but the fact that you can just get it game 1 can be really, really powerful.
Yep.
So you're not going out of your way to put this in your sideboard, but if you're already going to put something like this in your sideboard, if you're going to put Naturalize, which is 1 in the green, in your sideboard, you can just put this in your sideboard and, be a little bit better off.
Yeah, I mean, this also has like the slight upside of like paying you back for paying a little more for it, because if you're trading down on mana, at least you get a pest for your trouble.
Yeah, you get something as opposed to just being like, oops,
yeah,
nothing for you. Yeah. So all in all, I think this card is solid and will probably find a home in some sideboards.
It depending on like how playable the learn cards are.
Yeah.
And there's not too many of them that I think are close to playable, so we'll see.
So next up.
Yeah, this is one of mine. It's not one that you provided me here.
Nope.
Dragon's Guard Elite is 1 in a green for a 2/2 human druid with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Dragon's Guard Elite, and then you can pay 6 mana to double the number of +1/+1 counters on Dragon's Guard Elite. I don't think that part matters. The Magecraft ability is what I was interested in. And I mean, this is going back a ways, so I know you're going to know what I'm talking about, but maybe some of our listeners don't. But it's kind of shaping up like there might be a Miracle Grow deck in Standard.
I guess these are currently in Standard.
Yeah.
Like, so Lore Scale Coatl and Curian Dryad.
Yeah.
So Xerox or Miracle Grow were decks that like played Curian Dryad, and was there another creature that they played as well? Was it Lore Scale Coatl in the olden days?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was Lore. No, because Lore Scale was shards.
Anyway, they played a bunch of cheap spells that allowed them to grow their 2 mana threat into something really big. And this is something that kind of fills that role.
Yep.
We have a random green common that is just green for like a sorcery. Creatures you control get trample, draw a card.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is this here?
Well, see, that doesn't trigger Quirion Dryad, though.
It doesn't, but it triggers Dragon's Guard Elite.
It does, yeah. We also have Opt, which is just, cycles and triggers both of these. There's another card that I included in the list a little bit later on that I think would fit pretty well in a deck like this. We have that, what was that protection spell from last set? Put a counter on something, it gets hexproof.
Oh, Snakeskin Veil.
Yeah. Not that triggers Curion Dryad, but just as ways to kind of grow your team a little bit, provide some protection, like a Tempo-y style deck.
Yeah, so I have a few concerns. One is Deep Root Elite.
Yeah.
That
was
card
the same card and saw no play.
Yeah, it didn't have the 6 mana activated ability, but it was basically the same card and saw no play.
Yeah.
And then we have a new test for Standard. It's no longer dies to Doomblade.
Yeah.
It's dies to Stomp.
Yeah.
And like Dragon's Guard Elite does have that problem. You're like, here's my 2 mana 2/2, and they're like, stomp it.
You're like, cool.
Opt response.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you have to like this. You have to play on like 3.
Yeah.
Like you never just get to play it on 2. You have to play it on 3, and then, like you said, have your opt
Right.
ready to go. So, I mean, it could get there, but like recent history does not bode well for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Magic's definitely a different game now than it used to be.
Yeah,
I just thought it was weird that I saw like all of these kind of similar pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like they're trying to put something in.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it quite gets there.
Yeah.
Again, though, we don't think we get to play Thieves Guild Enforcer Magic anymore.
Right.
And we did, but it was not like the way we thought you were playing Thieves Guild Enforcer Magic. Right. So maybe there is something where they like lean into this pretty hard.
Maybe. I don't know. Like we've had Simic flashy style decks.
We have.
And I mean, I know these creatures don't have flash, but this would be a similar.
It could.
Like similar play style, I think. Brandborn, Cutthroat, whatever.
Yeah. All right. This is Emergent Sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And this is here because I don't know if this is like, hey, this card is good, or hey, don't play this card.
Okay.
Right.
Well, let's talk about it because I kind of walked myself through it as I was writing the episode.
So it is 1 in the green. For a sorcery, search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. If we stop there, this would be great.
Yes.
But then there's more text. That land becomes a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature.
Yep.
That's still a land. Put a +1/+1 counter on it for each land you enter the battlefield under your control this turn.
Okay. So if you play a land and then cast this on turn 2,
yes,
you're going to go get a basic onto the battlefield tapped.
Yep.
With 2 +1/+1 counters on it.
Yes.
Okay.
You're making a Servant of the Conduit, kind of.
Kind of.
You're making a 2-mana 2/2 that taps for mana. Like it's ramp, but like is Wolf Willowhaven better?
So I think that as a 1/1 or a 2/2, that second bit of text is a downside.
Yes.
Because it just makes a fragile land.
Yes.
And if this is coming in as a 1/1, it means that you also missed your land drop for turn, which means that you really needed that land and you can't afford for it to be fragile.
Agreed.
I think if this comes down as a 3/3, like if you growth spiraled or explored, or isn't there like a green-white guy from Zendikar?
You either play a basic land, an extra basic. Yeah, you can tap it and play. Yeah.
Like I think that if you can get this land to come down as a 3/3, it's probably pretty good. But I think as a 1/1 or a 2/2, I don't know if it's good enough.
It's probably not like a turn 2 play. Like, don't think of this as like this isn't rampant growth.
Right.
It's, you basically could just turn this into a, on turn 2, it's just a 2-mana 2/2 mana dork. And would you play that in your deck?
Maybe.
And you're like, well, if the answer is no, then you don't play Emergent Sequence.
Right.
If the answer is like, I just want a 2-mana fragile mana dork is fine, then Emergent Sequence is fine.
I think that like if you can trigger it 3 or more times though, like put 3 or more counters on it, I think that second bit of text is an upside though, not a downside.
Yeah, I mean, let's say your turn 3 is play a Fabled Passage, fetch, then play Emergent Sequence, then you get a 3/3.
Yeah.
Maybe that's worth it then.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't get bone crushed. It's a little bit more resilient.
Yeah, I mean, like with that line of play, you could even explore then Emergent Sequence and get a 4/4.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen that while Nissa 3/3 lands are somewhat fragile, they had a tendency to stick on the battlefield.
They did, yeah.
So at 3/3, it's probably fine. But yeah, don't think of this as rampant growth because I don't think it's not of that power level.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
All right. So
Sort of feast and famine.
Kind of.
Mostly.
Beladros Witherbloom.
Yeah.
5 black green
Mm-hmm.
for a legendary creature, Elder Dragon.
Ooh, Elder Dragon.
Elder Dragon. Yeah, I've heard of those before.
Yeah.
It's a flyer,
Mhm.
and it's a 4/4. So at the beginning of each upkeep, make a pest token.
Each upkeep.
Each upkeep. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Each upkeep. Make
So
a
yours
pest token.
and your opponents.
That ability is pretty powerful.
It is.
Think about Tenderfoot Dryad did this.
Yep.
And that card, if it stayed on the battlefield, kind of ran away with games.
Mm-hmm. Coma does this.
Mm-hmm. It makes 3/3s though.
Right. Well, so did Tendershoot Dryad.
Eventually, yes. The part of this is interesting is the activated ability. Pay 10 life. Untap all lands you control. Only activate this ability once each turn.
That's got to be for commander, right?
Yes.
So you don't just generate 21 mana all at once.
True.
Cast my commander, untap my lands 3 times.
Yeah. Figure out some way to win from there.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of this as like, you know, if this card was 2 and like 5 Phyrexian mana,
Mhm.
right? And it said like you can't cast this until you have 7 lands in play.
Right.
You would play it.
100%.
You'd be like, cool, I get to play this and have all this mana left over.
Mhm.
Like, this is just, you know, a free, in air quotes, 4/4 flyer.
Mhm.
So, like, it probably does something.
It's a free 4/4 flyer that makes tokens every turn.
Yeah. And those tokens get you your life back for doming yourself for 10.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you don't untap your lands the turn it comes into play, you can just do it your next turn and just double up your mana.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I got 16 mana. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have, 7 lands to cast this thing and you activate that ability once, if you don't win the game from that point, like you probably did something wrong in deck construction.
Yeah. Also, right, it also has the secret like mode of threat of activation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're Sultai. You cast it, you're tapped out, you pass the turn.
Yeah.
Your opponent goes to target it, and you're like, cool, pay 10 life, counter your spell. Right? Like, because you don't have to do it on your turn.
Right.
Right? You could just like, oh, do they have a counter? I hope not. I guess I got to go for this.
Well, I mean, the way it's worded, if you can gain a bunch of life, you can activate this on your turn and your opponent's turn.
Yeah, just, for the ultimate rubbins.
Yeah.
I still had all this mana. I think it's interesting, like the fact that it's free.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen that free stuff is usually bad.
Right.
Oh, this one.
I was kind of surprised this wasn't on your list.
I think this card's bad.
You think it's just straight up bad?
I think it's bad.
Okay. This is a body of research. Green, 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 blue, blue, blue. So 6 mana, none of it generic. For a sorcery, it says create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of cards in your library.
First, this is 100% a designed for arena card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're not going to sit there and count your library out, especially not in the same format as Yorion.
Yeah. 67. It just seems bad. So it makes perhaps the biggest creature you can make in Magic.
Yeah.
Right? Like for what's on the card, right? Like,
right.
Oh, I could put an infinite amount of mana on my Walking Ballista. Yes, but just for like,
right. For all intents and purposes.
What is on the card? This is the biggest creature you can make.
Mm-hmm.
And like, is keyword big good enough on turn 6?
Well,
Like-
probably not, but that's why I came up with some things to do with it.
Okay, we're flinging it 100%.
Well, that's one of the things, yeah. But like, what about with the Ozolith?
Okay.
Like, if keyword big is bad, it's because it like dies to Doomblade, right?
Or in this case, it gets bounced.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's pretty
Y-
awkward. Well,
you're
that doesn't matter though, because Ozolith still triggers.
It's when it leaves the battlefield.
I'm pretty sure. Go to the next slide. Yeah, leaves the battlefield.
Okay, so you still get your counters.
So then the Ozolith gets a whole bunch of counters, and then like anything you play for the entire rest of the game is lethal.
Is giant. Yeah. Like I just looking at it as like you make a 30-30
Mhm.
or a 40-40, and they're just blocking it with like pest tokens or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? Like Reggie as keyword big was good because it was on turn 3.
Yeah, not turn 6.
Yeah, you're just like, here's my 7-6.
Right, but this is really big.
Keyword really big. Right? Like if it were like a creature,
Mhm.
that if it got bounced, you could just replay it.
Yeah.
I'd feel a little bit better. If this fractal had, I don't know, lore on it, or God forbid trample or something.
Yeah.
Like I just see like paying 6 and then nothing happening.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's neat, but I don't know. I don't see it being constructive playable, but I think it is just like the
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking more something for like combo purposes, not necessarily swinging
Yeah.
with a 40-40.
yeah. I mean, if you get to 7 mana, this plus thud,
Yeah.
is,
Or
is-
the MDFC.
yeah, because you'll Fury,
Yeah.
is a good time. You're just like thunk, and we're done.
Yep. Isn't there like a sacrifice a creature, gain life equal to something also?
Not in standard that I know of.
No, I thought there was. It's like, I guess I don't remember.
There's
remember now.
a right of consumption. If you go way back,
Yeah, no, there's one in standard now. I don't remember what it does though. It's all right. I didn't do enough research.
that's fine.
But my body of research isn't big enough.
There we go. Yes, good work.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and it's just one of those cards that just feels like they designed it like for arena.
Mhm.
They're just like, do we have a paper game? Not anymore. We just designed for arena now. Do we want people to count their libraries? It'll be a wonderful tactile experience. Like, no, it won't.
Is there like something else we can do with the counters? Like if you can get them onto Ozolith, can you take like 1 billion turns with Sage of Hours?
I guess you could. Sage of Hours, you remove 5 +1/+1 counters.
Yeah, and take an extra turn.
Yeah, there we go.
So if you remove 30, you get 6 extra turns.
And you should be able to win the game from there.
Yeah, I mean if you can't if you can't win the game taking 6 extra turns, then
We've got bigger issues.
yeah.
You make your fractal. You then sack it to Witch's Oven. You put the counters on Ozolith.
Yeah.
Then you put it on the stage. And then you take 6 turns.
Yeah.
You're probably going to win.
Yeah. I guess, using Ozolith, you can move them onto Walking Ballista too, right?
Yeah. There we go. We broke Modern.
This machine gun.
Yeah.
6
Machine
mana
Gun.
blue and green spells. They'll do that to Modern,
They will. I mean, it's blue and green.
Yeah.
It's a blue-green mythic. It's probably going to get banned in 6 months anyway.
Yeah.
People are going to like replay this clip of me being like, is keyword big good enough? And they're just like, like all we've done in like for the last 6 months in Legacy is just body of research. It's awful. Like I never thought. All right.
Oh, hey, keyword big.
Keyword big. So Demagoth Titan?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah,
Sure.
good job.
Demagoth Titan. Green black hybrid mana.
Yep. So 4 hybrid green black mana
Yes.
for an 11/10.
We did it.
Yep. And whenever it attacks or blocks, sacrifice a creature.
Interesting. So if
there is no other creature.
It goes away.
Yeah, it just doesn't do anything.
Right. It sacrifices itself.
Yes. I guess you get like a chump block. Tackled by
Yes.
1/1. Block. Sacked by Demogoth Titan. I feel like you need stuff that you want to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard someone, it said like Skyclave Shade.
Oh yeah, that
You're
works.
Like, sack by Skyclave Shade, play a land, get it back.
Yep. You also get the pest tokens from the dragon we just talked about.
Yeah. My like what I compared this to in my head was Reggie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like Reggie's downside was you discarded a card. So you didn't have to spend mana for that card you were discarding.
Right.
Right. Like you're spending mana on this to like keep it alive. And I think that's a bigger drawback than discarding a card.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many things are like, you know, are sacrifice fodder that you want to have in that you want to sacrifice in standard.
Like if this comes down on turn 4 though, and is swinging for half of your opponent's life total on turn 5, how many times does it need to attack in order for it to have done its job?
Fair. I mean,
like this is a ton of pressure on turn 4.
It is. I mean,
so
I was thinking it's the abyss for both players.
Yeah, but
right.
Like if you're playing like a Woe Strider, and you can like the Woe Strider is something you want to be playing anyway, and you feed the goat to this instead for a turn, and then maybe you make the Woe Strider go away the next turn and then bring it back. Like, does attacking 3 times with this thing do the job? Probably.
Maybe.
And you're not really down anything. Like, you're down some tempo, but you've also just swung for 33 points of damage over the last 3 turns.
Yeah. What's this? Our Warlock friend?
Oh, yeah. The 2/1 that makes a dude.
He makes a pest.
Yep.
He's 2 bodies.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there's like a 2-drop that makes 2 bodies. Or like there's not anything in standard right now, but
Dwinen's Elite.
Dwinen's Elite. I was thinking like Elvish Visionary or the Vampire Dusk Legion Zealot.
Yep.
Where like you're getting a card and then feeding that guy to your Demogoth Titan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you might be right. It might just be that like being enormous.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a combination of being enormous and coming down early enough.
Yeah.
Like if this thing costs 6 mana, like that last card we were just talking about, it's not good enough.
No, the fact
because
that
it comes down too late.
Yeah, the fact that you're attacking with an on turn 5.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it could just be Rotting Regisaur, where it's just good enough.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close to Rotting Regisaur.
Right, and I guess like in, historic or Pioneer, like where you have like elves.
Yeah.
Right, you play this on turn 3 and then it eats your elf.
Mm-hmm.
Or, in standard, you're like Gilded Goose. You play this on turn 4 or turn 3.
Eats your goose.
It eats your goose. And, I think this card should say cannot block.
Because, well, I mean, you're never going to block with
that's
it.
What I mean. They put handholds on cards recently.
Yeah.
And like the handhold on this card should just be, it can't block. Blocking with it means you're using the card incorrectly.
Yeah.
Kind of like Brazen Borrower can't block creatures without flying. You're like, yeah, because you're supposed to be attacking with it.
Yeah.
Right. You're just supposed to be like turning it sideways and hoping that works out.
Yeah.
This
also like just kills somebody with an Embercleave. Like you're just dead. Doesn't matter what you do, you're dead.
I guess you can attack with the creature you're going to sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah. In response to the trigger.
Then you put your Embercleave.
Yeah, like I guess Goblin Instigator is
Oh yeah,
is
makes a
is
friend.
not, yeah, isn't in standard.
Yeah.
But then you're asking your mana to do some amazing things. I've got a red 2-drop, and then I gotta have black, 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 black.
And then you also need double red.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no problem. We'll get right there. I think that
You need some of them Jund Triomes.
Yes. Some way to give this idiot trample or some sort of evasion goes a long way.
So you could Colossification.
You know what? It's not big enough. Give it +20, +20.
Oh, okay. That wasn't the card that I meant then. What's the +7/+7 and trample?
Oh, gosh, I play it all the time. Prodigious Growth?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
18/17 trampler.
There's also Epic Growth, which is legal on Arena.
Ooh.
It's +5/+5 in trample.
Yeah.
For the same casting cost as Prodigious Growth. Power creep, ladies and gentlemen.
Power creep.
Yeah. Like, yeah, like, are there any creatures that we want to have? Like, we don't have like Stitcher Supplier anymore.
Right.
Right. Where you're like, I want to sacrifice this because I want to get something.
Yeah. I just need it to be in the bin.
Yeah, but no, this could be. Maybe I'm coming around on it, but I do just worry that there's going to be times where like you draw this on like turn 7 and your board's empty and you're just like
spent 4 mana for nothing.
Yeah, because like Reggie could do stuff if you were empty-handed.
Yeah.
Right, like it gave you a turn to play the card that you drew. Right. You know,
yeah, I think this also has less downside though too, because Reggie, like your opponent can just wait until you're upkeep with a trigger on the stack and then kill it.
Yeah,
and then like you're down a card and a Reggie.
I mean, I think the downside for this is go to combat, attack.
They kill your other thing.
And they kill your only other creature, and you sacrifice this, and you're just like,
yeah,
oh no.
Yeah,
but like Reggie on the turn 7 scenario was still a 7/6 that got to attack and block.
Right, and also later in the game the downside wasn't nearly as bad.
Yeah, like I think the downside here like gets worse as the game goes on.
Yeah,
because right, you could see a situation where you're like, oh man, I can't ever kill this, but if I can just manage their board,
yeah,
then this card doesn't do anything.
Yep.
So I don't know. It is an experiment in like how big can we make something, and like use the downside to balance it.
Gutter Bones.
Yeah, Gutter Bones. What's the one from Amonkhet?
Dread Wanderer.
Dread Wanderer.
Yep.
This also pairs nicely with Gary, Grey Merchant of Asphodel.
Oh yeah.
You're just like Demigoth Titan into Gary. You take 6 attack, sack my Gary.
Whew.
So
yeah, that's pretty good.
There are things it can do, but I just worry that because of the fact that like it has cases where it doesn't do anything, like those kind of cards usually don't get played.
Yeah,
because the downside of like I don't have another creature and I just spent 4 mana to do nothing is too bad.
Yeah.
Now, like maybe you pair this with oh gosh, what like Vivian, Advocate of Monsters, where you're like tick up, make a 3/3.
Oh, okay.
Now attack. Right, where you have a planeswalker that's gonna be like a consistent source of creatures.
Yeah, like Lily Dreadhorde General.
Yeah, Dreadhorde General, like that would be really good.
Really good.
Because you just like draw a card off of it. But like, I guess the new what's her name? What is her name?
Kesmina.
Kesmina down ticks to make creatures.
Yeah.
But like if you just had a way to like uptick and make like creatures, like even going like old school, like
What about Garrett Cursed Huntsman?
oh yeah, because then you get to eat the
You
wolves.
get to eat the wolves.
You get your loyalty that way. I was thinking like Nissa, voice of Zendikar,
With plants.
where you just +1, and
Yeah.
that comes out on 3. Like +1, make an 0/1. Okay, feed it to the Titan, attack you. Yeah. So I think it requires you to do a lot of work, and I don't know if modern Magic decks want you to do a lot of work.
Yeah, probably not.
Next step. Oh, I see what you did here.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, so this is what I put on here, and it's Decisive Denial. So it's blue-green for an instant. And then they put 2 things that have pretty much nothing to do with one another on the card.
Well, I found the thing that they have to do with each other, though.
Yes, you did. So it's an instant. You choose one. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So it's like an instant speed, like pounce for an extra mana.
Yep.
Or like prey upon is also a fight, right? Or prey upon is also 1 mana. And then counter target non-creature spell unless its controller plays 3. So it's like your blue-green removal spell and also your tempo-y counter spell. Like it's a weird card to have those 2. Like it's weird to have those 2 like different abilities on the same card.
Well, yeah, except if you're playing some sort of like Simic tempo-y flash deck. Because those are both things that you want to save your mana for. So
for those of you who aren't watching the podcast right now, when I switched the slide to Decisive Denial, what popped up was Dragon's Guard Elite and Quirion Dryad. Like they'll get bigger, then they can fight, or then you can you can counter the removal spell,
and they get bigger.
Yeah. Like, could you imagine if we had this in a world of like Frilled Mystics and Nightpack Ambushers?
Yeah.
Just
Brandborn Cutthroat.
Yeah, like turn 2, you counter their.
Well, we have all those things in Historic.
We do. Yay. No, I think this card is like oddly flexible enough.
Yeah.
That it probably sees play.
Like, no, I like the card.
Yeah, in a deck that is tempo-y, trying to play like a short game, where the counter target non-creature spell on say play 3 is just a hard counter.
Yeah.
Think about like last standard or the standard before, like how many times you got quenched.
Oh yeah.
Right, and you're just like, right. It's a limited quench, but it's better than quench because it's 3. And then
it also has a fight spell stapled to it if quench isn't good enough.
Yeah, right. Like one part of it lets you get rid of the non-creature spells, and the other side lets you just kill the creature that you had to let resolve. So, yeah, the card's just all like upside.
Yeah, I think it's sweet.
Yeah, it feels like a sideboardy card in like a very specific deck. But
well, I mean, you main deck it in this deck.
You do. Like you could also like in like Teamer Adventures, right? Like it lets you like counter their Great Henge. Or it lets you use your Lovestruck Beast to eat one of their creatures.
Right.
You're like, cool, Lovestruck Beast, eat your thing. Or so now you can't cast your Great Henge.
Right.
Or Lovestruck or counter your Great Henge because I didn't have my Lovestruck Beast. So it seems very good. And again, we're gonna make Quirion Dryad happen.
I really like that card. Do you remember how excited I was when I saw it on the set list for M21?
Yes, and I had to be like, it's 2020.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm gonna like cast a spell and get a +1/+1 counter. or I'm going to pay 3 mana and get a 6/6. It draws me a card, gains me 3 life, and puts a land into play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Dragon's Guard Elite in like 2004, like just runs vintage. Is the best vintage creature by a mile.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it has a home other than with Decisive Denial just carrying it the whole way.
Maybe.
Okay. Humiliate. We just
Hey.
talked about this.
We did just talk about this.
And by just talking about this, it might have been like 2 hours ago. I don't know.
Yeah, it was at the top of the show, but it's all right.
Top of the show. It's fine.
Yeah, so Humiliate is a white and a black for a discard spell. Target opponent reveals their hand. Choose a non-land card from it. The player discards that card, and you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. Typically, these like 2 mana discard spells lately have had some sort of drawback, like lose a life or something. This one is just upside.
Like this kind of fits in the think of like Thought Erasure. Like the upside isn't as big as Thought Erasures, but it's still all right. There is something in front of your camera.
There is?
Oh no, there's not. It's just the shadow. Okay, never mind. Edited. Hi, yes.
Hi.
Sorry. You are in front of your camera.
It's James.
James. That's just something in front of your camera. All right. So
it also looks like I'm sweating. Like my shirt's a different color here. It's not. It's just shadow.
This might all stay. So
it's gold.
Like, in like a black-white vampires deck, right? Where you're like, you play your, your 1-drop, and then you're just like Humiliate, take your removal spell, put a counter on it, get in.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a fine like line for this. Like also like, the put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. Like that, you don't need that to matter.
Right.
Right. If there's like an Esper control deck, right, that, for some reason wants Humiliate over not anguish of making. What is it? Agonizing remorse. Right. Like if they want this over that for some reason, well, I don't want to lose a life. Like, this card still gets to play.
Right.
So.
Yep. And like the reason I keep bringing up Gerard's Verdict that you see over there on the side.
Yeah.
Is because for those of you that have been listening for a while, that was one of the cards that I picked for Modern Horizons.
Okay.
When we did our called shots.
So I don't know if we said what Gerard Verdict does. I'm like reading it. So target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand.
Yep.
You gain 3 life for each land card discarded this way.
Yep. So it's like a fixed him to Torok almost.
Yeah, or like
white black discard spell.
Yeah, or like a busted Mind Rot.
Yeah.
This is better because you get to like actually pick the card.
Right.
I mean, if there's like a black-white deck where you're like Humiliate you into PV.
Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, cool. You don't get to do anything for the first like 3 or 4 turns of the game. Like that's probably fine.
And then you get to Charming Prince your PV.
Yeah, and then you're just like nothing. You get to do nothing.
You get to do nothing.
And you have to like it.
Yeah. You Draenith Magistrate and then Charming Prince.
Yeah.
Blink PV.
Yeah, and like you can't cast any spells now.
Yep.
There we go. We broke it. Next.
The Humiliation deck.
The Humiliation deck.
No, it's a different card.
The next card is Magma Opus.
Oh, that's an elephant.
It is an elephant. I had not noticed that.
I just realized
just said it's an elephant.
Yep.
So, this is 6 blue-red for an instant at Mythic. So it deals 4 damage divided among any number of targets. You tap 2 target permanents and you create a 4/4 blue and red elemental token. And then you draw 2 cards.
So this is kind of the same card as multiple choice, but
kind
better.
of. and kind of Sublime Epiphany.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reason I think this card is interesting is the random pseudo cycling they have tapped on it.
So that's actually on a couple cards.
Yes. So this
It's
is
a vertical cycle, right? It's on a common and uncommon and a rare,
okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. So it's blue red hybrid.
Mhm.
Discard this card, discard Magma Opus, create a treasure token.
Mhm.
So that leads you to do no fair things. No fair things
Okay.
should be done. Right? Gear Hulk this.
Oh.
They put that new card in historic, like is it Nivmagus like mastery or something?
Mm.
That's 3 in a red, exile instant or sorcery from your graveyard, then cast it without paying its casting cost. Play that as turn 3 because you got a treasure
right
from your opus. So I'm not thinking that you ever want to cast this card for 8.
For 8 mana.
I think you should be trying to figure out ways to cast it for less than 8.
Yeah.
Let that be, random card from some commander product that's now in historic.
Mm-hmm.
Torrential Gear Hulking it. I don't know if there's any ways in standard to play this card on the cheap from the graveyard.
Yeah, I don't know if there is either.
I don't know if like getting this in your graveyard and then like reanimating the Sphinx in historic is where you want to be. But like this gets in your graveyard really easy. So that I think it's incumbent upon you to cast it for half its converted mana cost somehow. Or half its mana value.
Mana value.
So as like a spell that you're just trying to cast for full freight at 8, right? Like you'd rather cast Genesis Ultimatum,
right?
You'd rather cast the Jeskai Ultimatum, whatever that.
I don't know, would you?
Anyways, I mean,
I think I'd rather cast this than the Jeskai Ultimatum.
Deal 5, draw 5, gain 5. Like drawing 5 cards is a big game.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, maybe it's close, but you'd rather do Genesis Ultimatum for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, but like just easy. I go in the graveyard and then cast me. Like, I can't imagine that they put this ability on like 4 spells and at no point in standard for the next like 18 months there's no way
to do the thing.
There's no way to do the thing.
Yeah,
doing the thing might not be good enough, but I feel like they're gonna let you do the thing.
Yeah,
like maybe the thing costs like 5 mana, right? Like in limited it gives you the out of like, I'm never in a million years gonna cast this, so I guess I will pay 2 mana to like rent myself for a turn. So you don't feel like too bad, but I think there's got to be a way to do the thing.
Probably.
Okay.
So this card isn't good. It's a Needlethorn Drank. It's a green and a blue for a 1/1 flying death touch. Yeah, it's a green and a blue.
It's a green and a blue.
A green mana and a blue mana.
It is
for a 1/1 flying death touch. Like those aren't stats for a Simic card.
Yeah, they are. Ice Fang Coatl.
Yeah, I mean, Ice Fang has to work for it, though.
It does.
When I looked at this, I thought this was one of those like great designer search tricks, where they're like, no, this is totally a Golgari card.
Well, the blue gives it flying, and the green gives it death touch. Right? Like think about all the like scorpions.
Right, but this is like the backwards way of doing it, though, right? This like typically when they design cards like this.
Fair.
They look at something both colors can do, and in this case they looked at something that one of the colors can't do, because blue doesn't, or green doesn't get flyers and blue doesn't get death touch. So instead of trying to find something that like the colors can work together on. They found something that like the other color can't do.
I mean, our 3 green, black, 4/4 flying vigilance, right? Black gives flying, green gives vigilance.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing.
Right, but it's the backwards way. That's why I said this is like the great designer search test card.
It is. It is. Yeah, it's weird. Like I just kind of like blew it off.
Yeah.
As like it's missing the text you need from Baleful Strix
Draw
and
card.
yeah, and Icewind Coatl.
Yeah.
But you know, it could be one of those cards that just shows up randomly. But it's
it's not going to see any play. I just thought it was weird because it's like not correct.
It's not correct.
Yeah.
I have deemed this not correct.
Yeah. James says so. It's wrong.
Yeah. You just got to tweet at Mark Rosewater. This is not correct.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Make it right. Where's my draw card?
Yeah, where's my draw card?
See,
Clearly,
that would fix the card though, because both
would.
green and blue can have creatures that enter the battlefield and draw a card.
Okay, there
so
you
that's
go.
what ties them together.
Gotcha.
See, here you got two things that don't work together.
Fair. All right. Vanishing Verse.
Yeah, you like this one, right?
Yes. Like thinking like a dark timeline when junk was like remotely playable.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like black, white, exile your Timerglyph.
Mm-hmm.
Exile your Lily.
Yeah.
Exile your Gerback Angler.
Yeah.
Right? Like the card, so Vanishing Verse, black, white, instant, exile target monocolored permanent. Right? That gets a lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
A lot of things. It's like when Ultimate Price was in standard, that saw a ton of play. That was premium removal.
Yeah.
And so this exiles and hits all permanents.
Yeah.
All colored permanents.
All colored permanents. So it's not like, you know, if you think about standard now, like there are a lot of like monocolored permanents floating around.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, again, using like the Edgewall Innkeeper example or like the Love Struck Beast, or like they resolve their Great Henge and you're just like exile it.
Yep.
I actually have a way to deal with that. Exile your Embercleave.
Mm-hmm.
Exile the creature you're putting your Embercleave on.
Yep. Instant speed too. Yeah,
instant speed. So again, it makes you play like planes, but they're trying. Like this is like you put a planes in your deck.
Well, I mean, I think this combined with your Mythos, like white black has some very good removal, like the best removal probably.
Right, like you could definitely play like, you know, we were kicking around that like Abzan deck.
Yeah.
In Historic, or because it was good because you had Mythos, and then you just add like Vanishing Verse to this as a way to like, you know, for one less mana, get everything.
Mm-hmm.
And having the flexibility to get everything is a big deal. Like get rid of your Nissa for 2 mana. Right? Like that's the kind of thing that you need. So
yeah.
I think this is good and can see like older format play.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are we done?
No, it should be a couple more.
Does he just don't know how to use it? He doesn't know how to use the thing. Okay. Velomachus? Lorehold?
Valachumas.
Valachumas? I don't know.
Sounds like a wrestler.
Velcro Man, yeah. Velomachus Randy Savage. So, this lets you do things for free.
It does. Like, what kind of thing were you hoping to be doing for free? I was trying to rack my brain. Well, let's read the card first.
I don't know. So this is 5 red, white. Mm-hmm. For a flying vigilance, haste 5/5.
Ooh, that's a lot of keywords.
It's a lot of keywords here. So when it attacks, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value less than or equal to its power from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
have in my head the instant or sorcery I want to just like be casting.
Didn't we just get a 5-mana time walk?
We did.
You could do that.
We also have 2 red 3-mana time walks.
Oh, we do.
Right, where you could
Just
play
gotta
this.
Find out how to not lose the game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. What is it? Well, I mean, Gideon.
Oh yeah, he does it.
They didn't put they didn't put Angel's Grace in historic, so
right. We have 9 lives though, right? That stops
9.
you from losing the game.
I think so.
I think so too.
So there could be some ways that you just could not lose the game.
Mhm.
Like you said, time warp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like any, like I don't know how many, like most times they take an additional attack step cards cost more than this.
Yeah.
They're usually like 6 or 7. Right? Like you should be trying to stay like under 5.
Right.
So
what's is Elrond's Epiphany?
Yeah, that costs 8.
Oh, that's right. And the Foretell makes it cheaper.
Yeah, the Foretell I think makes it 6.
So that doesn't work.
No. But like anything, like you don't need a whole lot of swings with your Flying Vigilance Hasty Dragon.
Right.
To win the game.
Right.
Right. Like maybe a chance for glory is all you need. But no, there's anything that's just like cast some stuff for free is good. Right. I mean, think about Goldspan Dragon, right?
Yeah.
It costs 3 mana because it gives you 2 mana back.
Right.
Right. This guy, you know, if you hit a 5-drop, costs 2 mana.
It's true.
Right?
I mean, if you hit a time walk, it costs no mana.
Very true. Very true. If you hit a time walk, you did it.
It's free.
Yeah, so I don't know what are the things you want to try to hit. Again, in the like do the thing category, right? Like you reanimate this somehow. You know, you unburial.
Oh yeah, it's a great reanimation target.
You unburial rights it.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get to hit another unburial rights or a card draw spell or something to go again. Right. Like there are things you can do. Like, yeah, like just not casting it for 7. Right. Bringing it back on the cheap and then just like bashing.
Right.
Seems like a reasonable line of play. So
if you what's the blue card, the blue snow card that like draws scry 3, draw 3, Gravenlore?
Gravenlore.
I mean, if you hit that, you're pretty happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of any like red things that you're just like, yeah. I mean, something dumb like Storm's Wrath. You're just like for everything. My guy's good, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like, is there like ways to? There's not a planeswalker or something that like stacks the top of your deck, where you can like, you get the brainstorm or something.
Not in red and white.
Not in red and white. So, no, like as a thing to reanimate, I think it's interesting, and just like building your deck in such a way that like one attack kind of ends the game.
This casts suspend cards.
It does cast all the 0 suspend cards.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
It is. There's like this into like Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Or like Restore Balance.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I don't know what you can do with it per se, but I feel like anytime you're just getting to cast stuff for free, you're going to like do bad things.
This is probably also a decent hit for Godfarrow's Gift.
Yeah.
Because it lets you, like if you're playing the refurbished version.
Oh yeah, because you can just get to hit like a refurbish.
Yeah, you hit a refurbish with it and then bring back another one of these, hit refurbish, bring back another God Pharaoh's Gift.
I mean, it has, yeah.
Or fill your yard, or
yeah, or like you're playing like combustible gear Hulk.
Mhm.
So like you have more artifacts to hit with your refurbish.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea too. And we're gonna have faithless looting in historic
Yes, we are.
for like 3 months.
You think it'll last that long?
Probably, because they're gonna want to make sure they ring as much many wild cards out of people as they can.
Yeah.
But like I give it like 2 weeks before people are like, this isn't fun anymore. Like, oh, this was really cool. And then it'll be like, oh wait. Oh, this isn't what I want to do anymore.
The first 4 wild cards I'm gonna spend on this set will be for faithless lootings.
Inquisition feels slighted.
Well,
The second 4 Inquisition.
probably. I mean, I've already got Thoughtseize.
Yeah. All right. So I just wanted to remind everyone that Wither Bloom command is good, just in case we forgot.
Yeah. When we talked about it, it's great. It's still great.
Yeah.
Every mode matters.
Green black for a sorcery. Target player mills 3 cards, then you return a land from your graveyard to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watched Anthony and I play Grixis silliness, this pushes you back towards Jund silliness.
Yep.
With Storm Herald. Destroy target a non-creature, non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Gets all your graveyard hate cards that come up frequently.
Sure does.
Target creature gets -3, -1 until end of turn. Kills Edgewall Innkeepers. Kills Thalias on later turns. If you go
kills
real
Young
deep,
Peasy.
kills Young Peasy. I was gonna say, I think Yixlid Jailer is a 2/1.
It is.
Gets a Yixlid Jailer.
It does.
For the uninitiated, that is a future sight card that is 2 and a black for a 2/1.
Yep.
That just says all cards in graveyards lose all text. So anything that goes in your graveyard just doesn't do anything anymore.
Right.
And then target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This buys you time against the aggressive decks for you to do whatever shenanigans you want to do.
It's also like fail case if you can't find things to kill.
Yeah. Like, yeah, if there's nothing to kill, it still lets you cast it. Which is why there are 2 card modes that like target a player.
Right.
So that you can always cast it.
The card's awesome.
Yes, card's great. Just in case you forgot.
Yep.
These cards, less great. So the Snarls. So what do these do?
They're the rest of the cycle from I did my picture wrong. I'm sorry. Oh well. So this is the rest of the cycle from Shadows over Innistrad, right? These are the show lands. Frostboil Snarl. This is the first one. I'll read it. As Frostboil Snarl enters the battlefield, you may reveal an island or a mountain card from your hand. If you don't, Frostboil Snarl enters the battlefield tapped. So you have to reveal a card with the land type or it enters tapped.
And then
I mean, they were fine.
They tap for blue and red.
Yeah, this one taps for blue and red. They're all the enemy pairs. These were fine when they were in Shadow Standard.
They are. They're missing. So we had the lands from Zendikar had land types as well, right?
Yeah. And we have triomes now.
I guess triomes is the answer.
Yeah.
But like, do we just have the triomes? Like, I'm trying to think if we
also have the snowlands.
Oh yeah. These can be fine. You do run into the problem of like, oh man, I drew this. I need to rip my 4th land. Oh, I ripped a Snarl.
Yeah.
Oops.
I mean,
I guess
these saw play in Standard even when the battle lands rotated out, though, right? Like, wasn't there a period in time where they weren't legal together?
There was. I was trying to think if there was another like set of like lands that
No,
had
no, you just played more basics.
fair. They're not the best, and we are hard opposed to the blue green one. That's the one that we're
Yeah, sorry.
it's fine. Simic got one,
Yeah.
but whatever. No, they're fine. Like they're pretty low power compared to a lot of dual land sets or dual land pairs, and they definitely don't play well with our MDFC lands.
No, they do not.
Right. So on some level, you might have to pick.
And I think that depends on what kind of deck you are.
Yeah, like if you're, more of if you're a slower deck and like having a, and occasionally tap land's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
they're fine. But if you're like, a blue red spells matter, I need to like always be using all of my mana, like having a guild gate in your deck 40% of the time, is not good enough.
Well, I think it also matters what your color breakdown is, because these are going to play a lot better in a straight 2-color deck than in like a 3-color deck where you have a chance of not having like the right color. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to splash white off of, like if you're a Jeskai deck trying to splash white off of a Fury Calm Snarl, but you only have mountains and islands in your hand, like that's going to be harder to do. Whereas the pathways, that's easier to do because you can slot the pathway in place of a basic, and then if you already have your white, you don't need to play the white side of your pathway, you can just play the red side.
So I don't know, these are lands that do make you have make deck building considerations, which they haven't given us a lot of those.
Right. Not in a while, man. It's just been pretty good.
Next up.
Yeah. What is this thing? Wandering Archaic. Like, I didn't even know this card existed. Like, I was flipping through trying to look for some of the MDFCs, and I came across this, and I didn't even see this card get spoiled.
It looks like a Hindu god, like with all the arms.
And like the floating thing above its head.
Yeah. So this is a 5-mana 4/5. It's colorless.
It's a 4/4.
4/4. Gosh, 4/4. I looked at the numbers, I swear. All right. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 2. They may pay 2.
Yeah.
If they don't, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And
what?
then it had
That's kind of nuts, right?
I guess. Right? Like in a
you just get to do whatever they do.
Yes, in a Commander game, this is great, right? Like you're just
I didn't mean in Commander, but yeah, Commander too.
I guess it just like lets you like copy the removal spell they use on it,
or card draw, or a tutor, or
I guess I mean like how long is it going to stay on the battlefield? Like what is it?
I mean it's a 2-for-1 though, right?
It is. Now, of course, it has a spell on the back.
Yeah. The backside is Explore the Vast Lands. It's 3 generic mana for a sorcery. Each player looks the top 5 cards of their library, reveals a land and or instant or sorcery card from among them, then puts the cards revealed this way into their hand and the rest in the bottom of their library in a random order. Each player gains 3 life.
This card,
like Party Tutor.
This card is wildly unplayable.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like,
Such a strange card.
Could you imagine if your opponent was like, "I'm going to cast Once Upon a Time," and you get to resolve a copy too?
It's like Mirrored Lotus.
Yeah, you'd be like, "Ooh, yes, please, thank you for spending your mana so I can find a card." Right? So this is like you spend 3 mana, your opponent draws a card.
Yeah.
But you gain 3 life, so that broke the symmetry. No, player gains 3 life. No, it doesn't break the symmetry. Like you just
you get the card too.
You get a card. You each get a card. You each gain 3 life.
Right.
But you're down
You
3
paid
mana.
3 mana.
Yeah. Seems bad.
So weird.
So weird.
Such a weird card.
The front side also like
Very strange.
very strange. All right, it is definitely a 2-for-1, but I don't know.
Is it to hate the storm decks?
I think I don't know. To me, it just seems like they were like, you know what? What's the colorless commander? Kozilek. How much is Kozilek right now? $120. So let's give them another colorless commander.
It's not legendary.
Oh, it's not. Why is it not legendary? It's not legend.
It's not legendary.
I thought for sure it was. Okay, never mind then. All that commander stuff, I'm throwing out. No idea. No idea why this card exists.
Yeah.
And we gotta go back to spending $120 on Kozileks. Stonks. I don't know. So okay, not legendary.
Not legendary.
Weird, but I don't think good. But it is
Okay.
weird.
It is very weird.
Yeah.
All right. Works with, what was that card? The colorless thing.
The colorless thing.
Yeah, isn't there like an artifact that makes colorless spells cheaper or something?
Oh, Forsaken.
Yeah, that one.
Forsaken Monument. Yeah.
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 But,
All right.
All right, moving on.
Next up, exploring more space for MDFCs. We had Valky, and he turned into a planeswalker that was really Tybalt. Now we have a fox dog thing that has a planeswalker on the back.
Yeah, is this Luca or is this Luca's friend?
On the back, it's Luca.
Right, but on the front, I mean.
Oh, I think the friend is like Luca's like buddy.
Okay, just
So,
buddies.
We
They're
have
just friends.
Yeah, Mila Crafty Companion, 1 white for a legendary creature fox. It's a 2/3. Whenever an opponent attacks 1 or more planeswalkers you control, put a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control.
That's kind of cool.
It is. And then whenever a permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card.
Hey, isn't that a green ability?
It has been in the past.
Yep. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yep.
So I was thinking as like I was more concerned with the front side than the back side.
Okay.
So this is just like a collected company deck. And
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to play like Shaper Sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's
So
sweet.
You just get to Coco into your, protection against removal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you're playing against the mythical Jund deck.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you play this, and then like they have to spend their first removal spell killing it.
Right.
Because you're gonna draw a card.
You're gonna draw a card anyway.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna draw a card when they target this, but you can't kill their other creature before you kill this.
Yeah.
Right. So I was thinking it's more as like a creature that you can like hit with collected company, or like in your white aggressive deck, if you're playing against like mono red and they're like shocking and bone crushing all of your creatures.
Yeah.
You get to play this, and now when they shock and bone crush your stuff, you get to draw a card.
Yep.
So now the backside is Luca Wayward Bonder.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 4 red for a 5 loyalty planeswalker.
Mm-hmm.
Luca. +1, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. If a creature card was discarded this way, draw 2 cards instead.
Okay.
Bit of a mouthful. -2, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile at the beginning of your next upkeep.
Wow, that's weird. Next upkeep.
Yes, like
so it survives a whole turn.
Yeah, it gets to block.
Yeah.
Right, we already talked about the like Lorehold Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not that 6 mana is much cheaper than 7, but this gives you a way to get it in your graveyard.
It's a lot easier to hit your 6th land than your 7th.
Yeah, but it gives you a way to get it in your graveyard, and then
reanimate it.
Mhm.
And then -7 when you hit an emblem with whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So, doesn't work well with the Lorehold guy because Lorehold guy's like, put spells in your deck.
Right.
And Luke is like, creatures. But it's the standard, like, hey, my ultimate wins the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a good planeswalker. I think the most of the value of this card's on the front side.
I mean, 6 mana is a lot for what it's doing, but I really like the first and second ability.
Yeah. I mean, the reanimate and then do something.
Well, the +1 sets up the reanimate.
It does. It does. Like, it puts your Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger in the graveyard.
Yeah.
And then lets you bash, or like
your Gristle Daddy.
Gristlebrand, or what is he called? Craterhoof Behemoth.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever big dumb thing you want to like do.
Right. Whatever you're gonna win the game with.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's not nearly as good as old Luca.
Right.
But I think the creature is why I put the card on the list.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but yeah, I think Luca is serviceable.
Mm-hmm.
So
for when you already have a crafty companion.
When you do, yeah. I think again now you're the lore mage out of the two of us, right? Didn't like Luca like befriend some beast at the end of the Ikoria storyline?
The Ikoria story didn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That was one I kind of skipped because it didn't make any sense.
This might be our befriended beast.
Yeah, it might be.
I don't know for sure. All right. So another card that I was only interested about one side. So
I'm gonna guess it's the backside.
It's the backside.
Yeah.
So you have Torment Sculptor. So 2 blue for a Morphoke Wizard, and it's a 2/2 with Ward of 2.
Great.
When it enters the battlefield, exile instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on Torment Sculptor equal to half that card's mana value rounded up.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember, oh gosh, lore something? It was like 3 and a blue for like a 0/0 from Cons. When
Living
it came
Lore?
into Living Lore, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like Living Lore.
Mm-hmm.
And then the backside is 1 on the red for discard a card, then draw a card. Right. So like bad tormenting voice.
Right.
When you discard an instant or sorcery card this way, Flamethrower Sonata deals damage equal to that card's mana value to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. And this is 1 on the red for a sorcery.
That's pretty cool.
So if you're like discarding, if you have spells you want in your graveyard, this also turns your discard outlet into some removal.
Like your Magma Opus.
Yeah, like 2 mana, 8 something.
Yep.
And then get it back somehow.
Right.
Right.
Then
like
draw a card.
Yeah, the joke is that you Flamethrower Sonata, your Magma Opus, and then on turn 4 you play a 10/10, I guess a 6/6 Torment Sculptor.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, yep, there we go. We did it. We assembled A and B. And like, Torment Sculptor also, like, Magma Opus gets itself in the graveyard.
Yeah.
But I was more interested in like Flamethrower Sonata just because it gives you like a discard outlet and some interaction all kind of rolled into one card.
Yeah. It's a lot more combo-y than the front side is.
Yeah. Now we've alluded to these guys before.
The Wonder Twins.
Yes. 1 spark, 2 planeswalkers. So we have the Kenriths.
Yet again.
Yeah, do you want to go over these guys?
Sure. The front side is Rowan, Scholar of Sparks. It's 2 and a red for a 2 loyalty planeswalker. Has a static ability. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And you can +1 Rowan, Scholar of Sparks, deals 1 damage to each opponent. If you've drawn 3 or more cards this turn, she deals 3 damage to each opponent instead. And Neg 4 is you get an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 2. If you do copy that spell, you can choose new targets for the copy. So that seems pretty good.
It does.
Reduces the cost of all your spells, lets you throw a little bit of damage around, and it's not super hard to get to that ult either that just lets you start copying stuff.
Yeah. It seems doable.
Yeah. The backside is Will, Scholar of Frost. It's 4 and a blue for a 4 loyalty planeswalker with the same static ability. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. +1 is up to 1 target creature has base power and toughness 0-2 until your next turn. That's good. Neg 3 is draw 2 cards, which is also good. And Neg 7 is exile up to 5 target permanents. For each permanent exiled this way, his controller creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token.
So I think if these 2 cards were 2 separate cards, they would be markedly worse.
Yeah.
Than they are as the Wonder Twins.
Right.
Right. Like, you know, being able to have a 3-mana planeswalker on turn 3. And then when you draw it on turn 5, you get to play the 5-mana planeswalker side.
Right.
On turn 5, you know, gives it a lot more flexibility. I don't think either one is like great.
No, I think they're both fine though.
Yeah, they're both fine. Like I feel like the will ability probably wins you the game. Like
the Neg 7?
The Neg 7, yeah, the ultimate. Like I think you like, you know, turn your stuff into 4/4s.
Yeah.
Right. Unless like, I don't know, they have an Ugin or something and you're like, well, that's got to go away. But how do you have your will still?
Yeah.
And like Rowan is maybe a harder to interact with Goblin Electromancer.
Or Burgie.
Yeah. Where like, you know, you get it to like, it has to deal 3 damage to it because you get to plus it right away. And it's chipping away, so you can like, you know, when you're storming off or doing whatever shenanigans, you know, you need a little bit less mana to make that happen.
Yeah.
So they're interesting. Is this our first like double-sided planeswalker in terms of like 2 planeswalkers, 1 card?
Probably, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because we had, well, I guess that depends on what you think of Arlen Cord.
Oh yeah. I guess she transformed.
Yeah, she was a werewolf on one side and a human on the other side. Planeswalker both sides.
Yeah, that we could put her in the club. We could say she was first.
Well, I mean, before that was Garrick, but he was the same planeswalker on both sides. I mean, he was still Garrick on both sides.
Yeah, this is true.
Garrick, the Innistrad Garrick, the original Innistrad Garrick.
Yeah, the one that like when it deals damage and it doesn't die, it flips.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think these like say like go into like a blue-red Spellslingers deck, play like a ton of instants and sorceries.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally written on the card.
We're literally written on the card. Build your deck this way.
Yeah.
I am happy that they that we're getting some planeswalkers that are the like core like 19 power level that was like really narrow, not like just like Oko-y powerful.
Right. It doesn't go in every deck that's these colors.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yep.
And then Rushed Rebirth.
Yeah, this is kind of a cool one. It's black and a green for an instant. Choose target creature. When that creature dies this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser mana value, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle.
Okay.
I thought this was cool because it pairs well with those like one-shot reanimate effects.
Oh,
so you
yeah.
gotta
You
like sacrifice at the end of turn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get to turn it into something permanent. That's
interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Yep.
I didn't realize this card was a rare. Like when I heard like the text, I thought it was like an uncommon or maybe a common.
Well, I mean, it might have been if you didn't tutor for the creature. Like if you put it from your hand into play, like maybe it could have been an uncommon.
Yeah.
But this nets you a card, and if you set it up right, you can cheat some mana too.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any way that you can there's probably some combo you can set up where you're able to have a 4-drop die, get a 3-drop that then does something that gets your 4-drop back or something weird. I don't know. But
yeah, I hadn't looked at any loops or anything. I just thought that there's certainly potential for value there.
Yeah, there is.
Because Through the Breach doesn't exile, right? It sacrifices.
I think it sacrifices. I think Gorya's Vengeance exiles.
Yeah.
Same with Shallowgrave.
Shallowgrave exiles.
I think so. But I think Footsteps of the Goryo sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
So you could Footsteps of the Goryo and then get something back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there are any temporary animate spells in standard right now.
Yeah, we just read one.
We did?
Yeah, Luca.
Oh, Luca? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, his neg 4 temporary reanimates something.
So we've got our 1 white card that we're not going to cast in our Jund deck. Nice.
I mean, I don't know if it's good, but
no,
I thought the card was sweet. Because base value of it is it's a value card.
It is.
You get to turn 2 mana that you're holding up to kill something into whatever the next best creature in your deck is.
Yeah, the next mana cost down.
Yeah.
No, it seems reasonable. I had not thought of it as a constructed card, but I can see that.
I didn't really think of it as a limited card, so.
Okay. I thought of it as just the classic
draft chaff.
Yeah, the cards that are black and the creature gets when this dies, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, like Kaya's ghost form.
Yeah, this is better than that because you're searching for something.
Right.
But on some level it is kind of that.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what you can like I said, that's why I was trying to figure out ways that you can abuse it somehow.
So this lets you go down the chain.
It does, as opposed to up.
Yeah, normally you get to go Simic lets you go up the chain.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what you get for instant speed. They won't let you go up the chain at instant speed.
No.
Because that goes infinite too easy.
Yeah, and those Eldritch Evolution and Neoform, they sack the creature as an additional cost.
Right.
I mean, you could, almost sell me on I don't know how this deck works, but a deck that has Rush Rebirth and Neoform.
Huh.
Where you're all right, I'm going to give this the ability. I'm going to cast Neoform.
Yeah.
And if you do a 4-drop, then you go get Dualcaster Mage, which copies the Neoform that's still on the stack.
Oh boy.
Right. And then you get to get all the 5-drops out of your deck.
Yeah.
Oh, you just get a bunch of Terror of the Peaks and you win.
Yeah, that works.
Or no, yeah, I guess you get 2 Terror of the Peaks, which probably wins.
Probably.
Or is at least good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a 4-drop that you turn into a 3 and 2 5s.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you could do something silly. I'm not claiming it to be good. Be silly. Oh, wait.
The card was cool.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah, you figured it out?
You get Kiki, Jiki, and Pestermite off a 4-drop.
Oh, yeah.
You Rush Rebirth your 4-drop. You then Neoform it. You get Kiki on one side, you get Pestermite on the other.
There you go.
Easy my peasy, 2 red card in my Sultai deck. Done and done. There you go.
That works.
Yeah, turn 5 because I had to get my 4-drop out. The turn 5, we did it. Or we just need a 4-drop that you don't pay 4 mana for.
Yeah, are there any of those?
I don't know. What could you turn an Allosaurus Rider into? By going down 1. Oh, this is anything, so you can just get anything. So
you can get anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can turn Allosaurus Rider into an Ornithopter if you wanted to.
If for 5 mana Eldritch Evolution, and then Rush Rebirth, Eldritch Evolution gets you like it's up to N+1.
Eldritch Evolution is up to,
I think, where Neoform is definitely +1. I think Evolution, like you get the pick. So there we go. Maybe I'll start building Rush to Rebirth Neoform decks.
Somebody's got to do it.
Like what thing you can, what mana cost you have to sacrifice to win the game.
Yeah. I'm sure there's an answer.
There has to be. There has to be.
Oh yeah. Eldritch Evolution is X or less.
There we go.
Yep.
So I think this is like a 3-hour podcast.
It is like a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah. So we should probably call it before we end up divorced.
Yep, let's call it.
So that was all the stuff that we found interesting, weird, and perhaps playable from Strixhaven.
Or not playable.
Or
I'm looking
not
at
playable.
you, Needlethorn Drake.
or that James says is wrong. So
goes against science.
It goes against science.
Green doesn't fly and blue doesn't touch with death.
Does not touch with death. No bad touch in blue.
That's right. Only good touch.
Only good touch. So if you would like to tweet at us what cards you are excited to play from Strixhaven, you can get at us at CasualTryPod on Twitter.
Yep. You can also hit us up on Facebook at CasualTryHardMTG. As always, you can drop us an email at show@CasualTryHardMTG.com. If you're looking to pick up any of the singles we talked about today, please use our TCG player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Anything you purchase after following that link, we'll get a small percentage of it, help keep the show rolling. If you want to support us a little bit more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Don't forget about our Discord. Don't forget about our YouTube. There's going to be a bunch of sweet content coming up there. Check us out.
All right. So with that, we'll catch you on the internets.
We'll catch you on the internets.